We are getting rolling with our infant series where we are working our way through the first year of life, covering your baby's development, growth, and the key things you're going to want to know to succeed as a new parent.
This week is all about your 1 week old. And just in case this is your first time meeting us, I'm Sarah. I'm a board certified OBGYN and mom to 3.
Yeah, I'm Kurt. I'm a board certified pediatrician.
And we are the
Doctors
Doctors
Bjorkman.
Welcome back. So you made it through pregnancy and birth. Then you get home and it's just you and this little human who is completely unable to take care of themselves. And other than that quick talk from your pediatrician before discharge, there's really no instructions about how to keep them alive, let alone how to set yourself up for success.
Yeah, now for us, we brought our first little girl home 4 years ago, and even though we'd been through years and years of medical training at that point, we still felt clueless about so many things. And so now that we've done this a couple times, this is now our third baby, we thought we'd share it all with you, some of the medical things to expect, and also what we're going through ourselves as we're going week by week through our real life.
Yes, so we are going to try to keep these episodes pretty focused because we know how little time you have as a new parent. But our goal is to go through the first few weeks and then month by month covering major growth and developmental milestones to look for, as well as key things to know at that age.
Yeah, and in this really early stage, really the biggest things for baby are sleep, eat, poop, and play.
And make sure you're subscribed because in the upcoming weeks, we have dedicated videos coming your way covering a lot of tips for diaper changes, how to swaddle your baby, umbilical cord care, and bottle feeding, especially for breastfed babies.
Starting out this week, we are going to talk about feeding and growth. As we talked about in our newborn video, you expect your baby to lose about 10% of their birth weight in those first few days of life. But then by about week 1, they should start to be gaining that weight back and usually reach their birth weight again by 2 weeks of age.
And so, as you can imagine, the key to weight gain is feeding. We've talked a lot about breastfeeding and my own struggles the first time around, and honestly, I was surprised that even the second time around, it was a ton of work.
Yeah, and there are a lot of challenges with bottle feedings too.
Yep. So, regardless of how you are feeding your baby, the key at this age is frequent feeds. If you're breastfeeding, this could be 12 or even 15 feeds a day during that first week. But as you start to get closer to that 2 weeks, you're hopefully working towards a schedule of about 8 feeds a day or every 2 to 3 hours. If you are breastfeeding and having trouble, I have shared lots about breastfeeding and breast pumps and different things in our breastfeeding playlist, but also know there are people out there to help you. Try to find a lactation consultant, so an IBCLC, as soon as possible to get help. I have gotten help with both of my first 2 kids. I've seen an IBCLC. They had tongue ties. I saw a speech language pathologist, an occupational therapist for Bo. We went every week. So it doesn't always come naturally and it can be a lot of work. So if you feel like something isn't quite right, look for some help.
I'm really glad you mentioned a schedule when talking about feedings because having some amount of schedule, even if flexible, is probably the biggest key to success at this stage. And I say this all with a huge asterisk because, of course, the first 2 weeks are really just about survival. Make sure your baby's feeding, make sure you're eating and drinking, and getting some sleep when you can. But the sooner you can add some structure to the day, the sooner you'll be able to reintroduce some degree of normalcy back into your life.
Yes. So the first step with this is helping baby learn day and night, which almost always seems to be backwards for baby in that first week or 2.
Yeah, and you can help them do this, learning those day-night differences by exposing them to light in the mornings and then keeping things darker at night. And for us, we really try to make a really conscious effort to make sure things are exciting for the daytime wake periods and then boring at night.
Yes. The other thing with this is remembering, your mom or your grandma might say, never wake a sleeping baby. Well, that does not apply during the daytime. As you are working on that daytime schedule, you need to wake them up for their feeds at least every 3 hours. If they want to go a little bit longer overnight, that's okay as long as they're gaining weight appropriately, but you want to fill up that tank during the day.
Yeah, and that at this stage means they're eating at least 8 times a day usually, and often many more if you're breastfeeding.
Yes.
Now, we've mentioned daily schedule a couple times, and the key here is to know that your baby is going to sleep a lot in these first couple weeks of life, but they also need to have periods of wakefulness.
They do. At 1 week, babies will have wake windows that are about, 30 to 60 minutes. So you wake them up, and first thing you do is feed them, and then play with them for a little bit, which can be looking at their face, talking to them, changing their diaper. And then they're going to be looking for that next nap again at that 45-minute mark. And then this cycle repeats itself every 2 to 3 hours.
Yep, for us, we're kind of in that deep sleep period for Hank. This is not standard. Definitely later in the day, he wouldn't sleep in our arms while we chatted, but right now it's perfect. And I will say that when it comes to sleeping and eating, your baby needs to eat a total volume of milk every 24 hours. And so, especially as this first month goes on, keep in mind that the more feeds they get during the day, then potentially the less they need overnight.
One thing I've had on my mind during these early weeks, and I'm sure other parents do too, are what about baby's brain development? We are working so hard to make sure that we're just eating ourselves, but it's something I'm always thinking about. What should we be doing to help our kids do great?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a very common thought. In the first year of life, babies' brains are working super hard. In fact, their brains are often firing, making little synapses 3 times more often than an adult brain. But fortunately, at this early stage, you don't have to work too hard to help them. Their little brains are just soaking in the world around them as they go. The keys to helping them succeed at this stage is sleep, feeding, and love. Their eyes aren't able to focus on anything more than 18 inches away from you, which is the distance about your face to them as you're holding them. So just enjoy those baby snuggles. Sing to them, spend time skin to skin. Bonding with you as a parent is an amazing way for them to start to lay the foundations for solid mental and emotional growth in the weeks and months to come.
And I think an important thing here is you cannot spoil a newborn. You can't hold them too much. In the first couple weeks, do not worry about spoiling your baby. Hold them, snuggle them, spend time with them. It's the best.
Absolutely.
So far, we've talked about feeding, weight gain schedules, and brain development. But what are the other things new parents need to know at this stage?
Yeah. Some other key things for this stage are sleep, diapers, bathing, and umbilical cord care.
So for the sake of your time, we have a video just about newborn sleep, which we will link here.
Yep. And we also have videos specifically about cord care and diaper changes coming up too. But when it comes to diapers, I will quickly say you're going to go through a lot of them. Some key things to keep in mind are that by this 1 week mark, poop should have transitioned back from that black tarry meconium to either a green-brown, or if you're breastfeeding, maybe it's more yellow and looks like it has little seeds in it. Over the course of the upcoming weeks and months, you may see all sorts of different colors in the poop that can be in this range of normal. However, if you see white poop, bloody poop, or dark black poop after the first week, let your pediatrician know.
When it comes to bathing, your little human doesn't need a bath every day at this stage. And honestly, much more than 2 or 3 times a week is plenty. So important tips for baby baths are to keep it short and simple. So make sure the water is a nice warm temperature without being too hot. So that's 98 to 100 degrees. It's a good idea to set even water heaters in the house to never go above 120. It's important to use a scent-free and dye-free soap to limit skin irritation. And then try to have baby not exposed. So out in the air for too long, you want to get them dried off and wrapped up in a towel right after their bath.
Since you mentioned baths, we should probably also talk briefly about umbilical cord care.
Yeah.
As a general rule, it is good to keep the cord dry until it falls off, but some sponge baths around the cord are okay. Yep. For most, that cord's going to dry out and fall off between the 1 and 2 week mark, but if it's still attached at week 3 or 4, you should talk to your pediatrician about this.
For me, it was hard to not try to, play with it, try to get it fall off sooner, but Kurt always says, just leave it alone. It is best to just leave it alone. You can fold the top of the diaper under it so it doesn't rub on it. Just let it be. It will fall off.
Yeah, and now you may have heard a grandmother or someone say like, oh, you should rub it with alcohol, keep it clean. That is no longer recommended. Again, leave it alone, keep it dry, let it be.
Yes.
When it falls off, you may see like a little drop or two of blood on the diaper. That is normal. It also may be normal for it to be a little wet for a day or two after. If it's bleeding persistently after it falls off, or if it continues to leak clear fluid, let the pediatrician know. If it's bleeding persistently, bring them into the ED right away. If it's leaking that clear fluid, that's something that the pediatrician may be able to treat in the office with a simple procedure. The other thing to think about for umbilical cords is infections are really rare, but if you see a lot of redness around the belly button, spreading warmth, etc., call your pediatrician right away.
Discharge.
It's gonna smell, a little smell is normal of like that stump itself, but like if you're like seeing discharge plus, etc., call your pediatrician right away.
So what about jaundice?
Yeah, we've had this mild jaundice is very common with all children. There's certain risk factors about being born premature or other siblings with jaundice or other like bruising things that can be a setup. Jaundice is the yellowness you see over the skin and the eyes in the first week or two after life. This happens with babies' blood cells are actually transitioning from a fetal form to a out in the world form, and they're having some breakdown of red blood cells, and it gives off that bilirubin that makes them yellow. The cool thing is the body's designed to get rid of this through their poop or with light exposure also through their pee. The best treatment for jaundice is feeding. The more they eat, the more they poop, the more they get rid of that jaundice. If they're exposed to light, the more they pee, they also get rid of that bilirubin. This is something your pediatrician is going to look at that first visit and then at that 1 or 2 week visit too, to make sure their levels aren't getting too high. In cases where the level of bilirubin gets really high, it can be dangerous to the brain and cause lasting brain damage. And so this is why the pediatrician is paying attention to how yellow your baby's skin is. Okay, so you've made it through the first week.
We're making it through the first week. Yes, hello.
Actually, we've done this 3 times now. Every time it's been a little bit different. And I don't know if we're getting better or if the kids are just different. Probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Our first time with our first little girl, Cecilia, it was so rough. Like she was just like sleeping, happy on people during the day, and then was awake, ready to party from midnight to 6 a.m. every night. And like, she wasn't latching well, wasn't feeding well.
I didn't know what I was doing to help her. Like it was a special.
So if you're like if you had a really rough first week, like we've been there. It's tough. Get help. If you can have family help cook food and make sure you're drinking water.
I remember my sister would come take her from like 6:30 a.m. till like 9:30 or whenever she needed to eat again, and we would just sleep from 6:30 to 9:30 every morning because we'd been up all night.
Which was an amazing help, and we're so thankful we had. I'm trying to think what's making things go better this time. Like Hank is bigger; he was born 2 pounds bigger, but also he eats a lot better.
He does. And I think some of that is just, I know how to help him a little bit better. He doesn't, I don't think he has a tongue tie like the last ones did. You're doing a real good job, huh, Blue Eyes?
And so like the struggles, like you're just exhausted, like your hormones are all over the place for mom and dad. Like it's okay.
Well, more dad than
dad's
mom.
Hormones are
all over the place. The toddlers.
But. And so there's so much change going on. So like seek help if it's, fussy babies are often hungry babies. Feed them often. How many times did Hank eat in the first 2 days?
Hank was on the boob when I looked at my app. I wanted to, because I knew this would come up. I clicked all the times that he was on the boob 15 times that first day of life. So this feed every 2 to 3 hours is not 100% correct in those first days.
They're going to feed almost every hour at times, cluster feeding, because it's them learning how to eat, them getting calories. The volumes of those early feeds are really small because their stomach on day 1 is the size of the tip of your pinky, right? This is also encouraging mom to make more milk, and so the best thing to set yourself up for success is good feeding, which sometimes is anything but natural. It's like this thing that feels like should be easy and beautiful, and sometimes it's just gritty and not easy at all.
And painful and all these things. So I think the other thing, you get lulled into at the hospital, fresh newborn babies sleep like 18 to 22 hours a day. Like they're just sleepy little beans. And so you're in the hospital and everything's fine and they just sleep and you hold them and they sleep in their little bassinet, and then you get home and they are starting to wake up.
Yep, and they're starting to get hungry and...
Yeah, and so we've joked like, well, he hasn't really, things have been somewhat peaceful because Hank hasn't really woken up yet. But like even waking him up to feed him sometimes is like, come
Hey,
on,
wake
little
up.
baby,
Yep.
like wake up, wake up, wake up, we gotta eat.
Wake that sleeping baby in the daytime. Wake them, don't let them sleep more than 2 hours. Like get them eating so that then it's going to help them be awake during the day so that they learn what night is too.
We loved taking care of babies, newborn sleep class, her ABCs of sleep. I watched it again before Hank came because it's like just that good with tips on newborn sleep. And again, you cannot spoil a newborn. You can hold them. You can do contact naps. All these things are wonderful. That first 4 weeks she talks about is really about practice. Anything you do is just practice to set you up for good habits in the future, but not to like stress about it. But it was helpful to refresh some of that. We also have an episode all about newborn sleep you can check out.
And I think the other thing about this early time home is, we've got 2 toddlers at home. We've got an almost 4-year-old and a just barely 2-year-old. Using this time as much as you can, like when grandparents are around or someone's around to hold the baby, to just like give as much attention to them. Like we actually, because we're both home on parental leave, like getting more time with our toddlers, and so like
so fun.
It's helping that transition. Definitely there's lots of emotions this week. More tantrums, more screaming, but like also just like more love, more joy. And so everything's tough, everything's wonderful. Not everything's wonderful. There's lots of things that are wonderful. If you're struggling, get help. Remember, postpartum blues and depression are very real. If you are feeling like sad, like you are having trouble attaching to your baby, like you or have thoughts of self-harm or harming anyone else to your baby, please let someone know. That's the most important thing we talk about.
Yep. Hi.
He's eating.
Yep, he's eating.
got a
Let's
big
keep
drink.
going. Let's keep going.
The most important part of this episode, if you need help, reach out. Call your pediatrician, call your OBGYN.
Call anybody. Yep. Because it's really hard. You're sleep deprived. You're healing. You're hurting. You have this totally, as Kurt says, unreasonable little being that you have to keep alive. Don't forget, you can just set them down. A crying baby isn't a live baby. Put them on a safe, flat surface and just like take a deep breath. Go get a drink. Go eat an ice cream, a couple bites, like whatever will help recenter you. It's going to be okay. It will get better. It will get better and wonderful.
Yep.
So.
And we're going to be here next week for an update on our 2-week-old, and also check out all the postpartum content about Mom 2, other tips and tricks coming your way.
Yeah. All right. Hopefully that was helpful and you guys are doing okay in that first week home with your new baby. You can do it. It will keep getting easier, and we are right here to help you along the way. So please subscribe. We have your 2-week-old content coming up next week, and lots of other helpful things to help you on your way.
Yeah, good luck, guys. Bye. We're doctors.
But not your doctors.
Anything we've said in this video is for education or entertainment purposes only.
It is not medical advice.
Any specific medical questions you have should be directed to your provider.